everybody. We'll get started here in just a second. Okay. Okay. All right. I think we're connected. Can somebody wave at me if they can hear me so I know that we're connected? Bueller. Hello? Oh, hi. Thank you. All right. We'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us. This is our first time doing a YouTube Live, so I will do my best. I have a couple of notes prepared that I will share, and at the end, if anybody has questions, I will do my very best to answer them to the best of my ability. Okay, so let's start first with a recap of what's happened so far. So last October, the USTR imposed 25% tariffs on a range of European products, including wine. This was a total incremental tax above and beyond the existing duty and excise tax already imposed on wine. And the categories impacted were still wines, under 14% alcohol from France, Spain, and Germany, and the UK, in containers less than 2 liters. So what this essentially excludes is sparkling wine, higher alcohol wines, wines from Italy, and large format wines like kegs or wine or companies that are exporting in bulk for bottling elsewhere. This tax was rolled out in response to a ruling by the World Trade Organization that the U.S. could take punitive measures to recoup $7.5 billion annually in estimated losses that were designated for a response to yes. Yes, Constantine, you can still get your Jerry Bomb on. Okay, I'm going to try to stay focused and not get distracted by these comments. So let me start that part over. So the World Trade Organization came out and said that the U.S. could tax the European community up to $7.5 billion annually. So it resets annually in response to basically the EU giving what they deem to be illegal subsidies to Airbus. And apparently, instead of just going back and taxing aerospace, they thought that there would be a more impactful response from the European community by getting all the small farmers involved and going and pushing the government to make changes to their policies for subsidies. And that's why a huge range of products were taxed, including wine. So those 25% taxes first hit us with very little notice in November. And then what happened after that, at the end of October. It was October 17th is when all of that started. And then in December, the World Trade Organization made an announcement that they were not very happy with the lack of change that they've seen on the side of the EU in relation to their subsidy policies. And so the World Trade Organization, the USTR, took that opportunity to say, okay, well, maybe 25% isn't enough. Maybe we should increase it to 100% on all wines. And so that was what was under consideration for their last review, was moving from 25% on some wines to 100% on all wines. So that lane is what has been going on with the Airbus lane. Then independent of that, there was a new issue that was raised in January in regards to what is called the digital services tax. And so completely separate from Airbus, the USTR said that they were considering a 100% tax on French sparkling wines, specifically in response to a digital services tax imposed by France on US digital companies, think like Amazon, Facebook, Google, etc. And that issue was resolved between the French government and the US government a few weeks ago. Apparently, for this year, digital services tax with France is no longer an issue. So there was a parallel path that was happening at that a couple weeks ago. So since basically the USTR came out in December and said, okay, let's think about actually taking things to 100%, there's been a flurry of activity in terms of raising awareness, talking to congressmen. There's been some protests in terms of trying to get people to really understand the impact of this tax on us, on the industry, on our businesses here on U.S. soil. Because in fact, about 80% of every dollar sold in relation to a bottle of wine, those dollars go into U.S. pockets. Those don't go abroad. So we are carrying the majority of that burden. And we do believe that as a direct relation of this engagement, that last week the USTR towed the line, and on Friday they announced that there was not going to be any additional expansion of the wine tariffs. So the same categories that were being taxed will continue to be taxed. However, in the meantime, there's still this looming issue about digital services, and while France is apparently sorted, independent of that, Italy and Spain implemented their own digital services tax starting in January. And so we are expecting that at some point in time, the USTR is going to come back around to that issue and start to discuss some punitive measures against Italy and Spain in the digital services lane. Independent of that, as if that wasn't complicated enough, the WTO is expected to announce a ruling on a Boeing case and the U.S. subsidies to Boeing, which maybe don't parallel the Airbus subsidies that are happening in Europe. So once that ruling comes out, there could be a whole domino effect of impact that we have not yet are not able to predict. So what that means, what we know for now, is that wine coming out of France, Spain, Germany, and the UK that is under 14%, so cooler wines that are still, will continue to be taxed at 25%, and this is going to be our reality probably for a while. There is a lot of noise in the market, and that needs to be louder about the impact of this on our businesses. And hopefully when the next carousel ruling comes back around in 180 days on August 15th, there will be an update and wine can be removed, which would be amazing. But we have to all kind of do our part. So write your congressman, post, sign, comment. I'll come back to that at the end. But they call it a carousel announcement, by the way. So it just keeps coming back and around, and products apparently are going to get on and off. This last round, prune juice was excluded. They must have a really great lobbyist team, so good for them. But for us, what that means is that 25% is here. And especially as we are rolling into releases of new vintages of white wine, those categories are going to be impacted. So what that means for Copa Fina and our family of small producers who can't easily shift volume from one country to another is that we have to figure this out. And we're trying to make decisions that are in the best interest of both our customers and our suppliers together. We're in this together. It's extremely complicated. It's extremely uncertain. But in the meantime, we're trying to do our best to support both sides. And one way to not do that, in my opinion, is to just increase the entire chain of markups by 25%. Instead, Copa Fina is taking the opinion that we're going to do our best to just absorb the dollar impact as opposed to the percentage impact, and working in collaboration with our wineries, try to land on a price that is as marginal of an increase as possible. For our portfolio, that is going to end up being anywhere between 50 cents and $1.50 a bottle wholesale. And actually ex-seller as well, because the taxes are the same no matter where we sell it. So whether you're buying it in state or out of state, that's the best way that we can marginalize and mitigate the increases. The first categories that we're going to see impacted are going to be Albarino, which we're totally sold out of right now. Cool, always under 14%. Chocolina Rosé, always under 14%. We've got a little bit left of 2018s, and then when that's done, the 2019s are going to come in. We are sitting in pretty strong supply. Says Mike. Okay, we are sitting in pretty strong supply of some wines. Mencia, Godeo, etc. Verdejo, actually, we've got a decent run rate to be able to get through the next few months. So we're not planning on changing any prices on existing vintages. So if you're looking for those, we got them. And in the meantime, we continue to welcome to have an open conversation about this. and keep you informed as more information comes down the pipeline. Okay, that said, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Constantine has some Midas-sized bottles he's like to move. Okay, if there's any questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, you guys can reach me via email, via Facebook. Hopefully, once you're on our YouTube page, you can poke around a little bit and see that we actually have some cool content in here, videos and educational materials. So, anything? All right, you guys, I just say thank you for joining us, and I hope you all have a productive, healthy, and successful weekend. Thanks, guys. Bye.